the 2025 NFL Draft, the Minnesota Vikings select Donovan Jackson, guard, Ohio State.
The Minnesota Vikings' first 2 days of the draft are done. Eric and Tony will break down the Vikings selections and look ahead to what tomorrow may bring in the later rounds. Here's the fellas.
All right, welcome here on the official Purple SKOL Squad show for Minnesota Viking fans. Tony Bell, the man that was at the Minnesota Vikings draft party yesterday. How was that event, first of all, Tony? How did everything go?
It was fun.
Was it? Yeah, and you got to pick. We were worried for you. We were literally worried for you because all the rumors were that the Vikings, and let me tell you, if the Giants called the Vikings first with that trade offer, that took a lot for Kwesi and KOC to say no to, because they would have gotten, 2 extra picks in the draft.
Right.
But I think they did the right thing. They got the guy that they wanted. Let's face it, who knew that guards would be hot and heavy in this draft? But the guys that the Vikings had ranked on their top list of guys that they wanted to bring in or who they've already talked to, Tyler Booker was already picked with the 12th pick by Dallas. Zabel was picked by Seattle. And so the Vikings were in a situation, the third guy on their list that they had interest in bringing in to help solidify the offensive line was this guy who sounds like he's very excited to become a Minnesota Viking.
You know, this whole night has been a whirlwind, but I couldn't have ended up at a better place, a better city, a better organization. You know, I'd like to thank, Viking ownership for giving me just an opportunity to wear such a great color and represent such a great organization. You know, to my former teammates at Ohio State, to my former coaches, man, thank you for everything that you've done for me and what you continue to do for me in my life. And I just can't wait to get to work with new teammates and new coaches and do whatever I can to help this team grow.
Yeah, I mean, I already like how he sounds, Tony, and that was one of the big things that Kevin O'Connell said, that when they had a chance to sit down and talk with him, and I think Kwesi added the same remarks, is they say selfishness, lack of selfishness. He's willing to do more for others. He stepped in for Ohio State when they needed him most. He volunteered to play a tackle position, which he went from being the highest recruited guard from high school ever. That's how highest recruited high school guard. So he took a chance on guaranteeing him a second round draft to move to a position. And he really went there flawlessly and played at a very high level for Ohio State. So what do you think of the Donovan Jackson first round pick for the Vikings?
I love it. I love it. We've talked about this team getting better on both fronts. And you finally now have a guy, he's a day one starter, folks. He's going to be your starting left guard. And hopefully Christian Darrisaw comes back. So think about this, folks. Left tackle Darrisaw, left guard Jackson, center is Kelly, right guard is Fries, right tackle is Brian O'Neill.
I mean, let's just say.
I mean that, and you've also got.
I don't want to go off kilter, but I'm turned on by that offensive line. Let me tell you, it's been a long time since us Viking fans have been excited about our trenches. Both sides of the ball, I think, are vastly improved.
We haven't had an offensive line like that since Denny Green, when he had Stussy, McDaniel.
Yeah, maybe 2009. 2009 played very well, but I think. Yeah. These guys, name-wise, are an equal, if not higher, as far as 1 to 5 group and where they were drafted and so forth. The equity that the Vikings have in this, 3 first-round picks, correct? O'Neill? Well, was O'Neill a second-round pick?
No, O'Neill was a second-round pick.
But then Darrisaw first, Jackson first. I'm not sure about Kelly and Fries, but what I'm saying is, the Vikings have put now in the resources that they probably should have done a few years ago.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, what happened, Tony, in that Rams game last year, in the Lions game, probably even worse, the last game of the season, trying to win the NFC North division, they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't run it in short areas. Now that shouldn't be a problem with what they've done, especially drafting Donovan Jackson.
Yeah, and now you've got Aaron Jones. You also have
Mason.
And I'm sure they might draft another running back, or it'll be a UDFA signing.
Well, let's kind of catch everyone up because we just finished watching the third round, and I know we were a little concerned because they made a trade. They traded from the 97th, which was their comp pick for Kirk Cousins, down to 102, trading with their buddies, the Houston Texans. And we're like throwing all these various names out there, and then they draft a wide receiver. They drafted Ty Felton from Maryland. So what that tells me is that the Vikings are not necessarily secure, Tony, as far as what they feel might be coming down the pike for Jordan Addison. If he misses a couple games, Felton's an interesting target because I didn't read a lot about him. Did not read a lot about Ty Felton, but I did see 4.34 speed. That's interesting. I just watched ESPN. Mel Kiper was talking about him and basically said he has great separation skills. He's very noticeable on tape. So is this an upgrade maybe from Jalen Naylor? Is this the 3 receiver? Is this maybe the guy that's going to come in there to help out the receiving core? It does give J.J. McCarthy another weapon. The Vikings now have made it quite clear, I think without any doubt, Tony, that this draft is really built for J.J. McCarthy. You got the left guard after strengthening the offensive line, and now you get J.J. a speed merchant outside, kind of take advantage of maybe throwing the ball deep.
Felton's a number 3.
Yeah, right now I think Jalen Naylor is going to be fighting for a spot now. And I know Keenan McCardle loves Jalen Naylor, but this guy was drafted, and I'm going to guess that McCardle had input on this guy. And
Naylor will probably
receiving 3 was a spot that was on the list for upgrade.
Naylor will probably still be on the team because they still need a 4, 5, and 6.
Yep.
The guys we had last year are gone. So Naylor makes the team, or he gets cut or traded, one of the two. Who knows? But Felton's your number 3 right now.
And Felton can possibly help out on special teams.
Yeah, he's your kick returner too.
He looks smaller than he is. He doesn't look like but he's 6 foot tall. So, that's a decent size. He'll probably play slot. He'll probably kind of move around. Vikings might find some different ways to use him in the offense. So, listen, what this tells us, I think, too, Tony, is that KOC's in charge. Yes.
Yeah, and it also bothers me. You need defensive help still.
And they only have 2 picks. Now, tomorrow, the Vikings, with the trade with Houston, they didn't get any extra draft collateral, but they did move up. They moved up by almost 40 picks. So they'll have 2 picks in the 5th round. They'll have the 100. Hold on. They have the –
I think 102.
Right. No. They have 139.
139.
And then they have 142. So they'll have a spot where they'll have 3 picks apart. They'll get their last 2 players. I'm going to guess, Tony, that might be where they go to maybe address the safety position and give Flores maybe a chance to do something that he wants to do. Maybe they get a defensive tackle. Our guy, Deion Walker, was not drafted tonight. Maybe the Vikings move up to get him. I don't know. But that is a position I know a lot of people talked about, that they'd like to get another young guy to be behind Allen and Hargrave, and then help. They had Jalen Redmond, but you can never have enough bodies there.
Right.
So maybe that's an area that they decide to go, because when you look at it, Tony, when we look at the roster now after these 2 picks, they addressed wide receiver, they finished their offensive line compilation. What does that really leave? That leaves safety, cornerback as a possibility, unless they have someone signed, which we might find out after the draft. They have signed one of the veterans that we talked about last time we were on, Shaq Griffin maybe coming back, or Asante Samuel Jr. Maybe another edge rusher could be what Flores certainly would like to do. What do you think, though, is still left as far as the 2 picks? And then I'm assuming they're going to be very active in the UDFA.
Well, yeah, UDFA is a given. That's where they find their diamonds in the rough, i.e. Ivan Pace Jr. They need to upgrade, I'm going to say it, inside linebacker, because Ivan Pace Jr., as good as he is small, very small. And you need safety help. Harrison Smith is going to hang it up at the end of this year. You need corner help. You always need corner help. But like I say, you can find good corners. They're a dime a dozen. They're like wide receivers. So you could possibly luck upon one in UDFA or free agency or whatever, a veteran. But you need to upgrade that front line. You've done it as far as starters go, but you need some depth behind it.
Yeah, you talking about the defensive line?
Yeah, the D line.
Well, let's face it. Hargrave and Allen are over 30, both of them, and it's to a point where you got to look at health possibilities. You also have to look at the future.
Allen said he got hurt in the championship game.
Yeah. So, is he going to be fully back, healthy? I mean, we're so worried about Darisaw coming, but that's the one thing that was nice about drafting Donovan Jackson is he showed he could swing out to the tackle position.
If worse comes to worse with Darisaw, you could swing Donovan out there to tackle and leave Brandel at guard. So you could do that.
I think it would actually be reversed. I think they'd rather put Brandel back at his natural position, tackle, and then Rouse. Rouse could be one of those guys. Rouse was drafted as a tackle.
Yeah.
Could be up for it and just keep Donovan where.
But Brandel is a natural right tackle.
Yeah. So if something happens to O'Neal, and let's face it, he's had injuries here the last couple of years that have kind of crept up on him. And as you get older, these things unfortunately happen, Tony. So the thing is you now have depth. I think that's the great thing about the offensive line. Not only does it look really good on paper, but now you got the guys behind it that if there is an injury, which there always seems to be, you got Rouse now. Brandel's going to be a swing guy. So you have that luxury. There's also talk, Tony, and I don't know if the offensive line's filled out now, but that Dalton Reisner could be a possibility coming back. I don't know how that fits because you're assuming Juergens is going to have a spot as the backup center, and then you're going to have Rouse at either a tackle position, backup, and Brandel as a guard tackle. So that's already, 8 positions. How many offensive linemen do you normally keep on a roster? 9 to 10. So there's really only 1 or 2 spots left, and I don't know for Dalton Reisner. I think he might have a better chance going somewhere else like Cincinnati or Denver and maybe crack an opportunity to play there. Where with the Vikings now, with what they did last night with Jackson, I don't think if Jackson wasn't drafted, if they went in a different direction, I think Dalton Reisner could have been back.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
But now
Cincinnati needs the help on the O-line big time, so he might go to Cincinnati. But the fact that he is friends with Chris Cooper,
maybe he stays. I mean, I don't know. We don't know, what their final blueprint will be. And the Vikings still have some money. They can still make one big free agent signing if they care to do that. Then they got to leave the rest of the money to sign these drafted rookies.
There will be some surprise cuts on June 1st.
That's right.
Keep that in mind.
That's right. Why not be patient? You can wait to see, too. And I know a lot of Viking fans are still a little antsy. We can name a few people that we know that are a little antsy with the quarterback position in the sense that you have 2 on the roster, right? You got 2 on the roster that they'll probably go UDFA. They'll probably bring somebody in as a UDFA. But then the aspect is that you need to ask yourself is Brett Rippon enough as a backup, or will they have a different name?
It's not going to be Brett Rippon.
I actually think they might make a trade. I think they might trade a low draft pick next year to get either one of these 2 names, which have been tied to the Vikings. One is Sam Howell, which, he's a younger guy. He's not older, and he certainly shows that he likes to zing the ball around, right? Kind of like Case Keenum. Sam Howell's kind of like Case Keenum. He'll throw it probably to places he shouldn't throw it at times, but he's not afraid. And, if he gets into the right offense that has balance, then it could work. Or Will Levis from Tennessee. Now, with Cam Ward going to Tennessee, I just don't feel unless KOC's thinking, hey, you know what? Will Levis is good bargaining chip for me to have. I can develop him. If something happens to JJ, we go in with Will. It's got the strong arm that would fit our offense. And then, you could obviously trade him for draft collateral if he has to come in, God willing, and hopefully not if something happens to JJ. But I
did not like Will Levis's game at all. Did not.
Well, another aspect is he mature enough, right? That's the problem with Will.
It's not even a maturity. It's just his game is just so he's not a good quarterback. He's just not.
Yeah, and I don't like his creepy mayonnaise commercials. First of all, I hate mayonnaise, and the fact that he does that to his coffee should be outlawed.
Whoa,
So
whoa! What does he do? What
Will's
does he
out.
do to his coffee?
He puts mayonnaise in it. It's disgusting. And he
Oh,
did a commercial on it.
no.
Yeah, no, it's horrible.
God.
It really is. It's just enough. No, I'm just throwing you what I read. I don't. I actually, that's why. If everything was patterned to build this up for JJ, they should. I would have liked to have seen Joe Flacco. I would have liked to have seen someone that could help JJ in his development with the mind and
And
experience.
I don't understand that at all. When you've got an unproven quarterback like JJ, why you didn't get a free agent?
Right? Unless they think there's something there that we're not. And Aaron Rodgers is going to Pittsburgh, or he's going nowhere now. They didn't draft the quarterback.
Yeah, it's he's going to
pretty much, I
Pittsburgh.
think, a done deal. He's going to Pittsburgh. Because if not, I don't know what Pittsburgh's thinking. Because the big thing tonight was, okay, quality control. We don't need to see that. We've done our Aaron Rodgers thing. Okay, so just cut your. I know the Patriots had a good draft. Just put Aaron Rodgers aside. He's not coming. No, yes, he's not coming to Minnesota. But I do think you're right. I think there's something going on. Like they think maybe a Jimmy Garoppolo will become available after June 1st if they decide to draft a quarterback. Which,
now here's a problem too. Now you're going to have some veteran quarterbacks that could be cut or ready to be dealt on June 1st, right?
Yeah, and then you could get them.
Now you've got some teams now that need a veteran quarterback, i.e., the New Orleans Saints.
Yes, and with Derek Carr's injury,
Atlanta, they're going to get rid of Kirk Cousins.
They need a veteran quarterback.
And I pray to God he does not come back to the Vikings. But
well, that's the other side of it. I've heard a lot of steam on that Kirko could be there on that sidelines with the lucky.
Well, and here's the problem with that. Minnesota, I don't think they will. They shouldn't. He still wants at least 20 mil.
Yeah, he'll want. But you know what? At that time, Kirk was made so much money that I think he'd take one of those 1 year, $10 million deals or whatever. I think he would. At this point, what else is he looking at? I mean, he could go to Cleveland, I guess, or they didn't really.
Stefanski is there.
Yes, Stefanski's there. Although they did draft the kid from Oregon tonight, Gabriel. But and they do have Deshaun Watson hovering over their heads, which eventually they'll have to play him. So a 1 year guy like like Kirk Cousins, for a year wouldn't hurt.
I wouldn't bring Kirk back here. I
just think no, because he's already had his time. Mm-hmm. He was the starter. I just don't see Kirk being receptive to the backup role. And I don't remember how the Vikings really didn't want to add any competition behind Kirk because Kirk didn't like anyone.
They coddled him for 6 years. They coddled him.
Yeah. We had Sean Mannion, one of the worst quarterbacks to put on a jersey in Vikings history.
Well, for 6 years, basically Minnesota created a monster that is Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, they definitely have, and now they're living with the aftermath. And now that they're done with this, right, it's just time to go in a different direction. So whatever that might be, it'll be interesting to see how they address that situation. But getting back to the draft, like we were saying earlier, Shedeur Sanders, Tony Bell. I mean, you just kept seeing like the Raiders pass, the Jets. I was like, well, maybe Aaron Glenn will want Sanders there in the backup.
It's funny now. He's not even in the Randy Moss mode. I mean, he's been passed over 3-4 times by every team.
Yeah, every team. Every team that you thought would Pittsburgh, the Giants, the Jets, Cleveland, some team that really needs a young quarterback. They're not interested in him.
Correct.
They're interested in Jalen Milroe and Dylan Gabriel and guys that are a headache.
Correct me if I'm wrong. He left Colorado his junior year. He can't go back.
No.
He's already, I think he hasn't, I don't know if he's got an agent now or not, but from what I understand now, he can't go back.
He's apparently, he said on his Instagram tonight, he goes, give glory to God. Basically, I think, they had, the bad thing was, the sad part of it is, did you see the video they had of Shedeur with the draft room, and they had all the drinks, and he had all really looked like a 10-star place to be, and he's still not drafted. And
Yeah,
I'm going to make a prediction. I say he gets drafted in the 5th round. I say one of those teams won't be able to help themselves, and they should. I mean, listen, the guy's got first grade attributes. Like people have graded Sanders first round talent. There was a time last year, Tony, remember this, that Sanders was considered the number 1 quarterback, and then Cam Ward passed him by. But if you look at his statistics at Colorado, he played at a high level, but there's something about him, right? It's his dad. And then you read that there was some interviews he apparently went to, Tony, where he bombed it purposely because he wanted nothing to do with that team, hence being the Giants, where apparently it was one of the worst interviews ever. And you know what? The Giants said, okay, we don't want you. We'll take
it. All started at his pro day at Colorado, where basically Deion went up to the coaches and said, do not tell them what to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So, that's the problem. And you know this, Tony. You know this. Teams want nothing to do with parents.
I want nothing to do with Deion, period. Okay.
They don't want parents texting or this and that. The coaches don't receive any of that, GMs, nothing. They warn the parents, listen, this is our guy. He's our baby during the year. You text them all you want at the end of the year, but to me, to the GM, to any other players on the team, no texting. Now we see posts that get out on Instagram and so forth, but you just can't do that. You cannot interfere with the team.
And I'm going to give everyone kind of a synopsis on Deion. Those of us that were old enough to have seen Deion play, he had all the skills, but he was all about the glitz and the glam. He was a hired gun. Whoever paid the most money, he would play for. So one year he found the Niners to do it, got a ring. For the next 3 years, he found Jerry Jones to do it and got a ring. And then after that, he went to Washington and took the highest bid from Daniel Snyder, who just bought the team and was filling it up with former All-Pros like Bruce Smith, Deion, and other guys. But Deion has never – he needs that spotlight. He needs it.
Well, the one thing I'll say about Deion, though, Tony, one of the best two-way players I've ever seen. Bo Jackson, probably the best, but Deion not far behind. Deion is just a superlative athlete. So Travis Hunter could be Deion Sanders, but Deion was probably ahead of him because of the speed quotient. And yes, Deion wasn't a great tackler. We know some of the cons.
Okay, first of all, if you're going to play defense, you're going to have to tackle somebody.
Well, true. But the thing
he run his mouth, but he wouldn't tackle anybody.
But
if you're going to play defense,
he didn't throw it on his side.
If you're going to play defense, hit somebody. Okay, you're on the defense. Your job is to hit. If it gets past the front 7, you're the last line of defense. Hit somebody. Bottom line.
Tony Bell, former defensive tackle, guy that cannot tolerate anyone playing soft football. Hence, Deion Sanders.
Personally, if Deion was my teammate running his mouth like he did, I'd have punched him. I would have got traded because I would have punched my own teammate. It would have been Deion.
I think he did get punched by either his own teammate. It was in San Francisco or something. Something happened, either San Francisco or Atlanta, where he did get in a ruckus.
Well, he got into that fight with Andre Rison on the field.
Andre Rison, that's right.
Yeah, he got into it. That wasn't even a fight. It was a slap fest. God. They were just slapping each other. What a joke.
What are you guys playing basketball? Let's go. Throw a punch. Be like a hockey player, damn it.
But then, of course, 2 plays later, Deion gets a pass. It takes it to the house.
He was a phenomenal athlete.
He was not phenomenal.
He's a phenomenal athlete.
He was not.
He was.
No.
Okay, we beg to differ. That's what's good about the show. You have your view. I have my view.
I have the real world. You have fantasy.
Well, in the real world right now, where we'll go to you, the Vikings have definitely improved themselves. There's some statistics about Donovan Jackson that I really, really like, and I just wanted to bring this out there before we go. And we will do a show next week at a time to be determined. And maybe we'll get my buddy to come on and grade the Vikings draft and go over what they did. But there's 2 statistics I really like. One, he only gave up 2 sacks last year, Tony, and the 2 sacks were at the tackle position. And he had to go up against – think of who he went up against last year. And keep in mind, Ohio State won the national championship, right? So he went up against Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant, Michigan. Okay, both guys that were drafted in the first round. fifth pick, Mason Graham. Kenneth, I think, was the 13th pick, right, by Miami, I believe.
Grant was 16th by Miami.
By Miami. And then the guy that he showed a lot of tape on and that I happened to catch a glimpse of, yeah, he might have gotten away with, the handsy thing. He probably got away with a couple pulls, but, sometimes you have to do it. And he didn't let his quarterback get hit. Was against Abdul Carter from Penn State, and he excelled on that tape. I mean, really showed you where he can excel. But the area that I really love about Donovan Jackson and why he is a Viking, for all of you out there that haven't watched Donovan Jackson, go look at the tape. 2 running backs by Ohio State. Ohio State had a huge draft day yesterday and today. But the 2 running backs that Ohio State got picked, Judkins and Henderson, who the Patriots, I know Quality Control is very excited
That
about.
was a good pick. That was a really good pick for the
That was a really good. I remember we were talking about if Henderson
Yeah.
somehow slid and we traded down, could we maybe grab him? Because he really is like Robert Smith. He is electric.
He's a complete back.
He can block.
Yeah.
He can receive. The guy's going to be a game breaker. I know everyone's talking
he
about
is-
Genty and talking about Hampton, but I'm telling you, Henderson could be as good as both those guys.
Yeah, the Patriots got an every down back in Henderson.
Yeah, I mean, but they're gonna save him because Vrabel already has Ramondre Stevenson, and Vrabel already said, he's gonna
use both of them.
Yeah, and the Patriots are building their offensive line now, right?
Mhm.
Jake Campbell, they're building. Garrett
You know,
Bradbury, I don't know about, but they just drafted a center, Jared Wilson, right? So Garrett Bradbury,
Garrett Bradbury. Maybe they'll move him to guard.
Maybe they'll move him to guard, or they'll just move him right off the roster, which we should have done a couple of years ago, right? So, but getting back to Donovan Jackson, he creates lanes in that zone blocking scheme, and the percentage with his 83% wingspan, he just occupies space and pushes and allows openings. I mean, that was the problem we had with Aaron Jones last year, and any of the running backs that we had was Aaron had to create his own space. How nice is it going to be when he gets the ball and he looks to see where his hole is or the cut that he's going to make, and he sees it being cleared out? And that's what makes Donovan Jackson and what makes Ryan Kelly and Mr. Fries all the more exciting to have is our running game's going to get better thanks to Donovan Jackson. And the fact he only gave up 2 sacks last year and had a high percentage in opening holes for the running game, it's exciting. It's really, really exciting. And I think if I was to give a grade, and I want to hear what you guys have to think here on the page when you watch this. Let us know what you give the Vikings. The first 2 picks, Felton from Maryland, wide receiver, who had over 1,000 yards. I guess he was only the 4th Maryland receiver to have over 1,000 yards. Now, I don't want to compare him to Stephon Diggs, but I mean, Felton's drafted a little bit higher than Mr. Diggs was, but we'll see if he has as good of a career as Stephon did. And tell us what you think of Donovan Jackson. Give us a grade out there. I'm going to just from yesterday and today, Tony, if I was to do that before I go, I would say they got a B+. I would say B+. I mean, I'd probably been higher if I wasn't sure about – I'm not sure about Felton because I'm not familiar with him. But then again, maybe this is a pick that will surprise us. So they did not need a wide receiver 3 type guy.
I give him an A- based on Donovan.
Yeah. I mean, listen, there are a lot of people out there, right? I mean, sure, there was the ones saying that we reached a little bit, that Kwesi reached because the guards were going up the board.
The ones that say we reached don't understand football. They spend too
Gotta
much
win in the
time.
trenches.
Yeah, it's. I know football. The NFL unfortunately is bad with this. They focused on scoring. They focused on throwing the football. Guess what? Once you between the 20s, you're fine. But once you get to the 20s and closer to the end zone, it is harder. And so you've got to be able to run the ball. And I mean, it can be boring, but guess what? You still win championships by having a strong defense and running the ball. And the team that won the Super Bowl last year had a strong defense and could run the ball. And that was a Philadelphia.
Running is becoming a little bit more fashionable after what the Eagles did last year, right? With Saquon Barkley.
Yeah, because, and I'll tell you what, there were a lot of good backs that weren't getting paid.
Yeah.
And now with this refocus on the running game, you're going to see some running backs start getting their just fair. They're just desserts. They're going to get paid. Yeah. And I think Philadelphia set the blueprint for winning football, winning offensive football. You don't have a great quarterback. Jalen Hurts is not a great quarterback, but when you've got a Saquon Barkley in that offensive line, that makes Jalen look better than what he really is. And you've got A.J. Brown in the receivers.
Yeah, that's right. And it opens up when you have a good running game.
Yeah.
Their job becomes a lot easier
Right.
attacking the secondary.
And I'll tell you what, when
secondary
you
has to come up to stop the run, and it gives the receivers that much of an
when
advantage.
you've got a rookie quarterback, which JJ is,
Yeah.
the best thing for him is to have a stout offensive line, and a good running game. That means you don't have to rely on his arm all the time, which gives him
and a tight end with big soft hands.
And a tight end with big soft hands, who hopefully can stay healthy.
That's a big if.
Yeah, and
I think they're going to go heavy in the UDFA in the tight end position too.
They do need tight ends. I mean,
tight ends, and maybe that's something June 1st that they look at as well. Okay, a couple quick hitters before we say goodbye, Tony. I know you have a game early tomorrow. And we'll be doing a show next week to kind of wrap this all up and give the Vikings their final grade after they complete the draft tomorrow. A couple quick hitters, longtime Viking greats, arguably their best running back in the history of the franchise last night. Someone you saw last night.
I saw him before.
Adds to the Minnesota leads, right? I think Minnesota has the most DUIs in the history of any NFL franchise. And well, Adrian Peterson, being the former great Viking, decided to add to that last night. My question to you, Tony, I mean, I know Adrian's hit some hard times financially because for kids and various reasons and hanging out with people he shouldn't be hanging out with. But couldn't the Vikings have gotten Adrian a car, or could he not have hired an Uber service? I mean, why even take a chance with – thankfully, it was only a speeding ticket. But his blood alcohol level was twice the limit. And so if that's the case, I mean, he seriously could have killed someone last night. And it just gets to the point like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing, Adrian? Be smart. Okay.
Well, here's my thing. Was this a rented car? Was it his car? Where was he coming from? Who was he? I mean,
Hennepin. It was heading to Hennepin County.
He was pulled over in Richfield, which is a suburb outside of Minneapolis.
Yep.
But in order to get, if he was staying at the Viking Hotel, which is at TCO from Minneapolis, you have to drive through Richfield to get to Egan. So he might have been on, I think it's 35. He might have been on there trying to hurt, but it's not like he had a curfew.
Yeah, you could have waited out, dry out a little.
Yeah, he could have just took his
coffee there, AP. Let's go. You're giving my last name a bad rep here. Let's go.
So I don't know what the gist of it is, but you think the Vikings would have somebody watch him? He'd have
Take care of him. Take care of him. Somebody step in, or one of the PR people that had to be there, right? Or someone just be like, "Hey, Adrian, come on, I'll take you."
Well, when he was signing autographs, he had what looked like a Viking person right there with him, helping him out, telling him.
Well, were they really helping AP out? Or AP, that or AP was doing what some people have done. I have to admit, I've done it once in my life. Fine. I've done this many times. I'm good. And no, I wasn't fine. I actually got in an accident. He was fortunately pulled over by the police. And you know this too, Tony, that police officers, when they know that there's certain athletes in certain places, they're going to mark you. They're going to figure where you're out. So the Vikings draft party was certainly probably a place where they're also hanging out. And, well, hey, there you go. AP was probably not staying in the lines very well.
And I don't know about many states, but here in Minnesota, we have this thing where it gets to be the end of the month and they have to meet this quota of tickets. So we call that the police fundraiser.
I think everywhere. At the end of the, it's at the end of the month, I think.
It's at the end of the month. Well, it's the 25th. It's the 25th. So guess what? You only got 30 days in April.
Got to play at a higher level than that.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Oh, boy. Anyway, the last thing I wanted to say before we wrap it up, final thoughts. Do you think there's a philosophy change with the Vikings? Do you think with what this offseason has been, this was really my final thought, that KOC now understands after, playing Detroit, playing the Rams, seeing what Philadelphia did in the playoffs and stopping Patrick Mahomes the way that defense did, that maybe the philosophy change is coming this year? Not just because JJ is really going to be a rookie quarterback this upcoming year, but just in the fact that maybe they heard all of us in the media or us on doing these little shows, podcasts, or whatever you want to call it, calling them out. Maybe maybe to the fact that this is now an opportunity for him to prove and say, hey, you know what? This is a chance for us to get to running the football. This is a chance for us to change that philosophy, get that nasty edge, get that kind of winning football mentality. So maybe that's what's going to happen.
I wonder if somebody told him that the team was too soft.
You said that. You were out there before most other people. That KOC's too soft. Now that they got nasty, they got the guys up front. Now you got a big pounding running back in Mason with Jones, who's still got some ability left in those legs, and now you've got a rookie quarterback you're really going to go to. You pretty much have to change the philosophy, right? And he saw
it's almost like he accepted the fact that the team could get punched in the mouth, but they would still find a way to win.
Yeah.
And then in 2023, they would get punched in the mouth, but they weren't winning.
Right.
Last year, they kind of had some nastiness to them, especially on the defensive side of the ball. What happened was, I think Brian Flores brought the nastiness to the defense. The aggressiveness came on the defense. The offense was still soft.
It just seemed like, unfortunately, that the Vikings, they'll either have a really good game where everything's clicking, and then they'll have the game where they just, like the Tennessee game, where they barely scored enough points, right?
Tennessee and Jacksonville both.
Yeah. That was back-to-back where they won, but you were like,
and who ran
like it did in that kind of year.
Yeah,
really didn't add up with Kirk Cousins.
Took a penalty. It took a penalty to win the game against Jacksonville. Yeah. I mean, the problem was probably KOC's coaching, KOC's approach. He's got to
past happy.
Yeah, he's got to get
the balance. How good were the Vikings at the beginning of the year when they were balanced?
Yeah,
when they were balanced, it was a different scenario. They looked like a team that was going to be a Super Bowl.
What happened was they kind of lost that balance after halftime against the Packers.
Yeah. There were some defensive things that showed, unfortunately.
Right. The defense kind of lapsed, and I don't know if that was Flores doing it, and I don't know, maybe it was KOC in his head, call off the dogs.
Yeah, right. You got to keep that, you can't
have that mentality. You can't.
You got to have that killer mentality. So hopefully everybody, the Vikings, successful draft. Hopefully Donovan Jackson will be that anchor at the left guard position to add what's already been an exciting offseason. If you like our content, please like and subscribe to our YouTube page. If you want to create content like Tony and I are doing with our show, we certainly welcome it on our page. So think about it and bring your Vikings passion front and forward. We'll be back next week, and we will talk and finish up the draft. We'll look ahead to possible June 1st cuts. We'll look at the Vikings roster as a whole, compare it to the other teams in the NFC North. And remember, when you do watch this show, give us a grade. I'll create a question on the page and let us know what you think. Or maybe we'll save it for tomorrow so you can give a complete, depending what they do with their 2 fifth-round picks. You can even save that for tomorrow. I'll put that up there tonight. And as always, Tony Bell, thank you covering the draft last night, and have good luck tomorrow, right? And before I go, I just want to say a quick thank you. This shirt I'm wearing right here. Thank you, Heather Poland, who's a dear friend. This was the shirt I wasn't expecting. I kind of thought she was going to get me something New York Rangers related, but she knows my passion is quite high. She's a little upset with me because we didn't really do much of a Rangers show at all this year, which is good because they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, you guys didn't even make the playoffs.
No, the Rangers didn't make it. And it's tough because I know they're still watching hockey, and there's nothing better than playoff hockey. And
I know the Wild made the playoffs.
Yeah, the Wild are in it. They're battling. But I kind of wait till I'll start to get the itch to watch it when there's only 8 teams left or 4 teams left. And then I'll start watching because there is nothing more electric than the NHL playoffs. But thank you, Heather Poland. Thank you, Tony. Great show tonight. And remember, on the page, tell us what you think of the draft, what you think of Donovan Jackson, what you think of Ty Felton. I've got to get to know him a little better. I'm going to watch some more tape. And have a great weekend, everybody. And SKOL.
Whoa.
Thanks for watching our official Purple Skull Squad show for Minnesota Vikings fans. We'll be back next week with our full breakdown and look ahead to training camp. Be sure to tell your friends about us, and don't forget, subscribe to our YouTube channel. SKOL!